Welcome to Office Hours. Today is Wednesday, September 2nd, and we're going to talk about SEO. And I'm going to put Allie on the spot because we were talking off screen about successes, and Allie had a super success that I just thought we can't just not talk about that. Can you tell us about your success last week?
Yes, so now my analytics dashboard is properly set up, thanks to David. And we're getting my weekly update, and we noticed that, when I say we, I mean me. I noticed that a certain page on our website with a certain service got like 5 hits, which is unusual for that. So we're going to capitalize that by doing a blog post on the same or similar topic this week.
I love that you're using the data to inform your strategy. That's great. That's exciting. That's kind of the point of setting up all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't just set it up and walk away from it,
Yeah.
but you used it. That's exciting. I had a success in that I started a new client this week, so that's always a good thing. They're kind of in a different industry, which is kind of always interesting, and just gotten a good start. And what's fun is I'm, even though I use the processes I'm providing through Curious Answer, the processes I use, sometimes I forget to use them. So like now I'm forcing myself to start at step 1 and do step 2. So I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid, drinking my own poison. What's the analogy I want to use there? But I'm starting there and working through it. So I set up analytics, set up the goals, did this, work into the process. So you're not alone. I'm doing it with you because I got a new client. So that's kind of fun. So, all right. Well, we had 2 interesting questions from Lavanya to this week. And I wanted to get to those first. And then Allie, if you have questions, of course, we will go to those as well. But I'm going to close some screen things here so I don't get distracted by all this other screenage that's opened. So Lavanya, you had asked a question about Google Analytics, asking if you no longer use a website, how can you remove it from Google Analytics? That was your first question. Do you have any
Yes.
context for us on why you would want to remove it?
Well, the one I had set up is a domain I no longer use anymore.
Okay.
I'm planning on selling that domain name. So that's why I was wondering, how can I remove it?
So if you're just going to sell it, you might want to keep it going. So if you do sell it, you can show that there is traffic.
There's no website attached to it.
Oh, okay. So then if it's all zeroed out, then and no one else has access to that or needs the history of that traffic?
No, what I did was transfer the website to a different domain.
Okay. Okay. And so you set up a new Google Analytics
Yes.
account on that domain, and you're going to get rid of the old one. If I was playing around with this just to make sure, and it all has to do with how you set it up in the first place. When you had that domain, did someone set up the Google Analytics account for you, or did you set it up yourself?
I did it myself, but I think I did it like completely wrong.
Oh.
Because for some reason, I signed up with Google Analytics IQ.
Okay.
I think it's set up as a demo part of it, so I just need to try to get rid of it.
Okay.
I think it's set up that way too, and also demo and also not demo.
Okay.
I think. So I can go in and check it. I just want to make sure I remove everything.
Yeah. So normally it doesn't really hurt anybody to keep an analytics account in there unless, even if there's no traffic. However, if you eventually get enough clients, and I forget where the number is, I think it's 100 accounts. that's the maximum number of accounts that you can have in a Google Analytics account. So at that point, you might have to remove things. So let's share my screen, and I will show where we might find this information. So we go under admin, which does everything for our accounts.
Mhm.
This is the account. I'm looking at what used to be the SEO game plan is now Curious Ants. And I can go to account settings, and I can simply click move to trash can.
Okay.
And that'll get rid of it. And then you'll see the trash can is actually almost the recycle thing. From
Mhm.
here, you can restore. I think it keeps it in there for 2 weeks just in case you made a mistake.
Mhm.
But that's how you, could delete it. But I delete it at the account level, not the property or the view level. Pardon me, if that makes sense.
So you said you deleted it at the create account level?
Yeah, so there's 3 levels of a Google Analytics account. There's the account level, property, and view. Under account, go to account settings.
Mhm.
And then up at the right-hand corner, there's a move to trash can button.
Okay.
Now, normally you wouldn't want to do this. Like, for instance, let's say this was a client that you no longer work with.
Mhm.
I would, if that were the case, I would ask them to remove you. Or you can go to user management and remove yourself. But you know, if you're not careful, you could really hurt someone else's Google Analytics data, like they might want it. But if this is an account that you own, then you know that's how you could delete it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And there was another question you had. See if I can pull that up. That's the wrong screen. There it is. Also with Google Analytics, you ask, is it possible to remove a website and start over with Google Analytics with the same website?
That answers the question from the first question, right?
Well, you said you had more details.
So basically, like I'm going through setting up my account in Google Analytics, but if I think I did something wrong or it's not, I don't think it's set up like I want it to, and I just want to start all over, I can remove it and then go back through the steps to set it up, but it just pull the information from the time that I set it up the second time. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you start over, it'll only show you data from that point forward.
Okay.
Because Google would have no idea of your interactions before that point.
Mhm.
If your data is completely wrong and inaccurate, that's
Mhm.
fine. But that would be a pretty extreme circumstance.
Oh, okay.
I'd almost hesitate to do it. You can always, within Google Analytics, you can add notations.
Mhm.
And so, what you can do is put a notation in there and say, I fixed this problem here. And so oh, that's when it happened. I'd almost rather keep it together unless it was so inaccurate. Like I've seen circumstances where, pages were missing from the Google Analytics code. They didn't have it on it. So, at a certain point, you add it to every page, and now all the pages are reporting.
Mhm.
Well, in that case, I still wouldn't start over. I'd still just make a notation. I've added the code to all the pages now.
Okay.
I've also seen errors made where someone just adds the Google Analytics code to the homepage of a site and not the interior pages. Well, okay, once you fix it, then I would just keep that same historical account because at least you have the data for that one page in that case.
Okay.
What were the nature of the errors in the analytics account that made you want to start over?
I just think I'm missing something. I didn't put the code throughout the whole page. I think Google is only tracking the home page
Yeah.
and the contact page, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's so I would just use it
So,
the same account.
okay, so instead of deleting it, just go back through the steps, and as I go back through the steps and see where I went wrong at or correct whatever I think
Yeah.
I
You're
didn't do
using a
correctly.
WordPress website, right?
Yes.
I recommend, what's the name of that tool? There's a new plugin from Google. Where is that? It is, oh, it's called SiteKit. If
I think I've seen that. I think I have that.
Okay. Well, SiteKit should add the code to every page of your site for you automatically.
Oh, okay. And I think the only reason I have that is from your instructions, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think I got it from anywhere else, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it has Sidekick on there.
Yeah. When you install SiteKit, you still have to take some extra steps to do things like add the analytics code to your site. I recommend using Google Search Console as a second step, but that's a kind of a nice to have, not a requirement. But SiteKit will automatically add it to every page of your site unless there's some sort of serious development problem on the website, which is unlikely.
Oh, okay.
But a plugin, there's also a plugin called Monster Insights, which I used to use. That will
I
do the
used to
same.
have that,
Yeah,
but I
it does
think
the
I
same
removed
thing.
it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just like the SiteKit because it's integrated with several other Google tools like not only Google Analytics but Google Tag Manager and Google Search Console and PageSpeed Insights, just all in one.
Mhm.
So it's just really nice to have that all together, and you can see the data from within your WordPress install, which may be valuable or not. I always go to the Google Analytics site, but if you want to
Okay.
save yourself a step, I highly recommend the SiteKit plugin, and that should solve your problem. And then you just need to tell SiteKit which of the Google Analytics accounts you want it to use.
Okay.
Yeah. So unless there's some sort of serious error where you're over reporting, let's say you had the Google script on there twice on every page, so every page sent 2 visits. Well, that would be like double the visitors than you would really have. That might be a problem, and I don't know. I still probably wouldn't start over.
Okay. I'll just go back through and see, but something tells me I did something wrong. But I get everything. I get all my notifications every Monday. Um, that's coming through okay,
Yeah.
but I just feel like I did something wrong.
So what you can do is you're using Ghostery, right, to prevent Google Analytics from executing.
Yes, but that's another thing. I need to go back through and see if I set that up correctly because I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's set up correctly because I think it's still tracking me when I go to my own site.
Yeah. Well, you can pause Ghostery just to make sure, and then open up real-time reporting in Google Analytics, and then watch yourself as you visit every page of the site and watch the analytics script trigger on every page, just to make sure it's on every page.
Okay, so you said pause Ghostery and then watch it and see if it tracks me going to that page.
Well, go to what they call real-time analytics, which is at the top left-hand column. It's real-time analytics. Otherwise, you have to wait a day for the analytics script to populate. But if you do real-time, it shows it in real time. So then you can see, oh yeah, it is watching me visit every page. And that should be able to tell you whether there's a problem with the script or maybe you're just not getting a lot of traffic yet.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ellie, did you have any questions? Those were Lavania's two questions.
Um, I don't think so. I didn't have time to go back in and reset up my Google Data Studio. Do I have to do anything to like wipe it to be able to start from scratch, or?
So, no, I don't think so. All you have to, what I'm recommending you do is just start over with the steps.
Okay.
So step one, click on that link and create a new copy of that
Mhm.
report. And once you create a new copy, it'll ask you to set up Google Analytics with it again,
Mhm.
and then just use that one. I think I think it's that easy, because what we figured out after our conversation is I found where I was looking for the data source, but because it was pulling from Search Console, not Google Analytics data, I was afraid you'd have to literally go through every item in that report and
Right.
change it manually. And I thought, you know what, for the time, I would just start over.
Yeah.
And you could go into your Google Data Studio. If you go log into Google Data Studio, you can find your old one and just delete it
Okay.
and then start over with step one of setting up a monthly report. Now, and just follow those. I also recorded a video.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps you make sure you're following the steps a little bit. Your friend is sniffing your head.
I'm listening to you, even though I look distracted because this. He always, has to get into trouble when I'm on a conference call.
That's right.
It's like Murphy's Law. As
Yeah.
soon as we hang up, he's going to be passed out.
That's right.
But right now, it's like, what can I get into? So,
Oh,
hopefully next week will be better.
wow.
But last week was very productive call for me, but then I didn't get to, after we did a lot of stuff that day, I didn't do a lot of stuff after that.
Yeah. Oh, bark, bark. Well, I thought if we didn't have any more questions, we'd go through something that I like to review every month. It comes out from a website that I like to review called Search Engine Roundtable. I'm going to share it on my screen. And this is the monthly report that they do on what's changed in Google over the last month. And I review this every month. I actually have a little alert set up to help me keep track of that. This has come out to see what's going on. I highly recommend it. Again, Search Engine Roundtables, their monthly webmaster report. And it goes through a recap of everything that's changed in Google over the last month. Most of the time, the changes are fairly small. And a lot of times there's rumors that by the end of the month are either subsided. For example, here's their information about Google algorithms over the last month. Their most recent article says, oops, what we thought was an algorithm change is just a glitch and everything's back to normal. So it's almost like when you hear a rumor about SEO, pause for a moment and don't just follow down, because it's so funny. You can almost hear the conversation. Uh-oh, there's a coming algorithm. Oh no, there's a big algorithm shift. Nope, it's all back to normal. So just be careful about SEO rumors and stuff like that. Other things that have changed recently that might be worthwhile are Google Search Console is starting to roll out some new tools. That'll be really interesting. I think you all at this point have Google Search Console installed on your sites. A lot of great information there. The Google API doesn't really relate to what we do. There's things going on with the tools. You'll hear about it here. let's see. Some of the SEO announcements from Google over the last month are really interesting. Right now, Google, I don't know if you've done a Google image search lately, but now they're starting to add banners or badges to each image telling you whether you have a license, that photo has a license that you can use, under which circumstances you can use it. You got to be careful about borrowing images from other websites and putting them on yours. Make sure you have permission before you do that. This will help because a lot of people go to Google image search to find an interesting image to put on your blog post.
Yeah, that's why we use Unsplash and like those other kind of things. So
Yeah, that's who I use too.
Also, we want to avoid like someone Googling something similar and then the image from our website pops up, but not as our website. So
yeah. I am of the opinion that Google is moving more and more towards an image-based search engine. And images are going to be more important, especially unique images. In fact, I hired someone to take a bunch of pictures of me and for my website, just because I wanted to avoid having to rely on stock imagery on my website.
Video too.
Yeah,
that was
video too.
I was briefly working in real estate before the pandemic hit. And that was like one of the number one things they touted is video. Don't like get comfortable with yourself real quick and do videos because that's what people respond to.
Well, they say YouTube is the second biggest search engine, second only to Google.
Yeah. And it's owned by Google.
Yeah. I know I actually spend more time streaming stuff on YouTube than I do Netflix at this point.
Really?
And YouTube is my go-to for entertainment.
Yeah, they have full shows on YouTube.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I don't go on
Besides,
YouTube.
sometimes when you have a question, you just want to watch someone do it on YouTube.
Well, every single time I fold a fitted sheet, I have to Google a video. Right?
Every time I tie a bow tie, I got the same thing.
I honestly don't understand how people folded fitted sheets before the internet because
I'll record a video for you.
like I can't figure it out.
Another thing that changed recently is the Google's support of article structured data for rich results. That is kind of something that's buried deep within Curious Ants, but if you'll eventually get to it. The idea of structured data is a way of encoding information on your website so Google understands what that is for. There's a special way to encode something on your website to tell Google this is an article, as opposed to this is a landing page, or this is a video or an image. If you use the Yoast SEO plugin for WordPress, it automatically includes all your blog posts as articles for you, which is one of the reasons I like it. And the rich results test is a tool that helps you verify whether you're using structured data accurately. Just some other structured data issues that have come over the last month that have been fixed. Some information about what they call mobile first algorithm from Google. Right now, Google, all new websites are being evaluated from what they're calling a mobile first perspective. That means when Google crawls web pages, they're evaluating whether or not you should be indexed or rank on the mobile experience of your website, not the desktop. So it's not the desktop version that matters, it's the mobile version that matters. And just because, so I guess this announcement has to do with new sites launched and old domains do not default to mobile first indexing yet. So if you buy a new old domain, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be mobile first index. They're rolling it out. They've been rolling it out for a while, but it's something we need to think about. Let's see what are things. Oh, this is an interesting one. Have you heard of the sandbox, the Google sandbox?
No.
This is the theory that Google penalizes or holds back new websites from ranking. It's called the sandbox, where the rumor is that if you have a new website, Google doesn't like you and will hold you back. Apparently, there was a big theory about this. Well, there is a big theory about this. And what this article is saying is that it never really was a sandbox. Google's always denied that there's a sandbox for new websites. However, whenever you launch a new website, it always feels like you're getting nowhere. And it's very frustrating. And it's really easy to blame Google. Google's saying, nope, it's not Google, it's you. No, we're not indexing your site because we have no reason to index your site. No one's linking to it, whatever. So don't blame Google if your site's not indexed yet. It's your fault. Sign up for Curious Ants and do it the right way. Word count is a ranking signal. It's always an interesting conversation. I typically recommend pages have no less than 800 words on them in each page. Google in this article is saying they're not counting the words on a page to rank a page. And that's not why I say 800 words. And I suggest a lot of words on pages because, pardon me, because the more words you have on the page, the more opportunities it is for your page to get long-tailed traffic from Google. We like to think we know what our customers are searching for on Google. We do keyword research to help identify that, but we can't really predict that. There's so many possible phrases someone could search for to find us. So the more words we have on a page, the more naturally we're going to talk about things that our customers are looking for that we're not even anticipating they're looking for. And so Google's basically saying, hey, we don't count the words and rank a page with 800 words one step better than a page with 799 words. It doesn't work that way. It's really about, I'd say it's really about having more opportunity to rank because you have more content. You can theoretically rank a page with 300 words on it, right? But it's only going to rank for so much. What are we going to say, Allie?
It's just increasing your odds content-wise that you're going to talk about something that someone's searching for.
Right. I mean, it's so frustrating. I see pages that have 200 words on them outranking some of my clients with 800 words. Okay, for that phrase at that time, it's not about the number of words on the page. Like, you could have a really well-received page with very little content, but that means the number of phrases that they could be searched for is very small. Links and link building is an important topic within SEO. Google, it's really what makes Google different from as a search engine. Google does not rank a page just on what's on the page, but wants to see what other websites say about you. And so this is just a reminder that Google isn't really indexing the links. They're indexing pages and using the links to help find new pages. So a lot of times we talk about link building, we're like, can Google index the link? Well, yeah, that's kind of part of the question, but we can lose track of the fact that Google doesn't really index links. It indexes pages. The links just help them find those pages. We haven't talked a lot about XML sitemaps. Are you guys familiar with what an XML sitemap is? An XML sitemap is a way of listing all the pages on your website so that Google can see what's everything is on your site. It's a special page on your site that basically lists everything that exists. There's other information you can send to Google along with a list of pages. That includes telling Google when the last time you modified that page was. Some people like to game that system and think that, oh, if I just keep changing the last modified date on my XML sitemap, Google's going to think the content's new. This article is warning you that that's stupid. By the way, I think was it over the last week, Lavanya? Do you know that WordPress 5.5 came out?
I think so. I had to update mine recently.
Yeah.
I think I just updated mine yesterday.
So the WordPress 5.5 is important because it's the first time WordPress automatically sent out XML sitemaps with WordPress. And if you're using the Yoast SEO plugin, that has been doing that already for you. But now WordPress launches with an XML sitemap. So if you don't have Yoast, now Google can, if you tell Google where the XML sitemap exists, Google can now find it and use that to crawl your site. There, if you go to Curious Ants and you search for XML sitemap, there's some information on there. It's worth checking because sometimes you might not want every page of your website sent to Google. So you, for instance, if you submit a form on your website and it goes to a confirmation page, that's not a page you want Google to know about, right? It just doesn't help anybody for Google to send traffic to that page.
So you're saying to keep Yoast SEO, because I was about to delete it.
Yeah.
Because I'm following your instructions that I'm for SEO right now.
Yeah.
So I was getting ready just to delete it, but you're saying keep it because it can also help us, I guess, eliminate some of the steps maybe.
I like the Yoast SEO plugin a lot. What I don't like is the green button, the green light.
Oh yeah.
Right. So just ignore the green light, keep the plugin installed, and you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Right. Just ignore whether it says the green light's good or not. That's my recommendation with Yoast. Don't pay for it. Don't do it. Don't mess with the green light. Who cares? But take advantage of all these other wonderful things like a really good XML sitemap, the article markup on every blog post automatically done for you. These things are worth doing Yoast for.
Okay.
Plus, they've recently made some big improvements to speed. So the Yoast plugin was getting a little bit bloated, and they've fixed that recently. So I do recommend Yoast. I just don't recommend worrying about the green light. There's some other, there's an interesting SEO myth-busting video series on YouTube. If you want to look that up, that's pretty interesting. Oh, this is an interesting article about bandwidth. Oh, I won't even go into that. Oh, here's another one that's really good that came out this month. Links from Wikipedia does nothing for your site and has no SEO value.
Not surprising.
Well, first of all, it's really hard to get a link from Wikipedia, right? They police themselves very well. But if you followed link building, you know that that's been the case for a long time because all the links are no followed. Now, recently Google made a change where they said, okay, we're going to use no follow as a suggestion, and they reserve the right to give you SEO credit from a no follow link. But Google's confirming, or at least maybe we don't believe them, but they're saying, hey, these Wikipedia links don't help your SEO efforts. Now, they can send a lot of traffic, and that traffic might be good traffic. So if I got a link from Wikipedia, I would not turn it down, but don't think that you're going to rank better as a result of it. Here's an article which we could kind of talk about for a long time. Guest blog post links have zero value. I recommend in the game plan, in Curious Ants, that you do use guest blogging to build links. Google came out explicitly and said that those links do not provide value to you. Now, this is one of those conversations where we're like, okay, do we believe everything Google tells us? Google does not make money from organic search, right? They make money when you get frustrated with organic search and pay them for paid search ads, right? That's where they make money. So also, they do not want people to be able to game the system. They do not want people to be able to rank #1 because that's not fair. They want an algorithm that can't be gamed so then they can say the algorithm is objective. So sometimes they'll say stuff that we kind of know is not true. They've said this before. And then it was so funny. Last time they officially said it, a month later they reneged on it. But my argument has always been, what's the worst that can happen if you do a guest blog post? Well, if you do a crappy guest blog post, that could be bad. It could be considered a bad link and Google might get mad at you. But if you do a quality guest blog post, you're going to be on a quality website talking about a topic in which you are truly an expert that might send traffic even if it doesn't help your Google ranking. I think that's worth it. So if you're trying to do guest blog posts to game the system, well, that's your own fault. That's stupid, and Google's smarter than you. But if you're trying to do guest blog posts to get yourself out in front of people who want to see and know that you have an expertise, then go for it. Like, that's a legitimate form of marketing, whether or not it helps your SEO. I'd argue it does help your SEO, but the problem is it doesn't help your SEO if you're just doing crappy guest blog posts on anybody who will take your website link and who will list you alongside, Louis Vuitton handbags and, all kinds of illicit stuff. Don't worry about that. Those do not help your Google, but a normal guest blog post, I bet you it will. And then canonicalization, which is a whole topic in of itself. I do have an article on Curious Ants about canonicalization. Canonicalization is the idea that sometimes websites will accidentally duplicate 2 copies of the same page with a different URL. Canonicalization is a way to tell Google, hey, we know these 2 pages are identical, but we want you to treat this one as the proper one. If you use the Yoast SEO plugin, guess what? It automatically does that for you. You don't have to worry about it. Another good reason to use Yoast. But it's a very confusing topic, and a lot of people get confused. So that's some of the news with Google over the last month. But anyway, I hope that was kind of a helpful little overview. There's a lot going on. It's always hard to keep up with stuff, but that's one tool I use, and I hope that helps you keep up with stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always down for things that'll make my life easier.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple minutes left. Do either of you have any additional questions?
Well, I think last week, Allie was talking about they were getting calls from their website and about tracking the calls.
Oh.
I was going to ask, I don't remember if we talked about CallRail, or do you know anything about CallRail? Is that good for Google to help track her calls that she gets from her website?
So I don't know if Allie was talking about it. I definitely recommend the service CallRail. It's a paid service, but what it does is you install this code on your website, and then whenever someone visits the site, CallRail really quickly before the user can even see it changes the number as it's displayed on your website. So you see a different number. Well, CallRail knows if someone calls that number, that person, they know who saw that number, because that's the only person who would have seen that number. And so they can then go in and say, we know the person who called this phone number found you because they did a Google search and they landed on this page.
Doesn't Google have a similar service where basically you can choose phone numbers that you identify to yourself and then use them? So if a certain number if their person is calling a certain number, you'll know where that's from because say you used it in a certain advertisement or on the website or...
They have a feature like that under paid search. I don't know if they have a feature like that outside of paid search. There might be something associated with Google My Business like that.
Something, I have to check my notes from my realtor office was talking about how you can use different phone numbers on lawn signs versus business cards versus website so that you know what marketing strategy is actually getting you traffic.
Yes.
And then it also helps with privacy because then the person doesn't actually have your phone number.
Right. CallRail is more sophisticated than that.
Right.
You can do that with CallRail, or you can actually just install it on your website, and it not only knows this call came from your website, but it knows the call that came from the website came from Facebook or Google or Bing.
Would it then, like, would that person be able to then keep calling that same phone number and always get routed, or would it change?
Yes.
That's so interesting. So in theory, you could have 10 different customers that have 10 different phone numbers for you.
Yes. You could. And there's ways to manage that to make sure that, it doesn't get confusing, but
And then
they all
how
just
would you
forward
know
around.
then, like, if somebody verbally was like, oh, you should give this place a call, and gave them their phone number, like,
Well, so then you get into really interesting conversation about who gets credit for that,
right?
right? So if I call a company because I do a paid search click, and then that gets attributed to paid search, and then I give that number to you, Allie, I referred the client to you, but in reality, it was the paid search that related to me, and that's related to you. So it would come across as a new paid search phone call, even though I'm the one who gave you the number.
Right.
So with smaller businesses, that's harder to do because, you only get so many calls so often. But with bigger businesses where they're getting a lot of calls, this can be super helpful. I think it's an underrated conversion tactic because you get a lot of people calling you from your business. Sometimes people just want to talk to you. And, they don't feel comfortable under certain businesses. They don't feel comfortable submitting information over a web form or just human nature. Sometimes you just want to talk to somebody, right? And so this way, at least you know what's working.
My last company was big. It was a national pediatric healthcare company. And so that ended up happening more because people would call us first because we were like a big name,
Right.
Not really knowing anything. And like the next thing you know, you're on the phone for an hour just giving advice,
Right.
which, is nice, but not really productive long-term. The company I'm with now, because it's much smaller, it's private, it's more focused. Like we don't get that as often. We usually get more purposeful.
Right. Yeah. But that's CallRail, Lavanya. Does that answer your question about it?
Well, I was looking up something else, and when I seen Cara, I thought we were talking about it last week. I think Allie had a question about it. I think she said they were getting more phone calls or something. And so that's why I mentioned CallRail, but I thought she was saying they was getting the phone calls.
No, the problem was last week that we went through is that my goal tracking wasn't working with our email submission. So I was checking with my director to see, like, are we getting submissions or are we getting phone calls rather than online submissions? But it was an issue with the way the goal was set up, because now it's working properly. And I saw that we did have 2 goals completed last week, which is great.
Oh, okay.
2 out of 5. So it was good.
Oh, okay.
No, I think we also talked about the idea of putting a Google Voice number on a website so that it doesn't go straight to your cell phone.
That's
Yeah.
what I was.
That's what I do on reliableacorn.com. I don't want you to call my cell phone.
Yeah.
Now you can call my cell phone, but I don't want a stranger calling my cell phone, and I don't want that cell phone number on the internet. So I got a Google Voice number, and it just goes straight to voicemail. I can check that, and I get that voicemail.
I'm wishing I did that. I'm running for as a board member for my co-op, and like within 10 minutes of sending out an email saying that, I had people calling my cell phone and wanting to meet and wanting to talk, and I'm like, can you please send me an email like a normal adult person? Right. Like, no. Yeah. Just email me, please. Like,
right. Exactly.
Like everybody else does.
Exactly.
So I'm like, oh, I should have put a good Google Voice number on there instead.
Yep. Free number. Why not? Besides, Google needs that information about you too, because they transcribe all those phone calls, so that way they have all this great information about you and they can market to you better.
I've got 3 Echo Dots in my house. Like privacy is, it is what it is.
Me too. Yeah, I've given up on privacy.
People who think that they're living off the grid, I'm like, no, you're not.
I'm in the middle of the grid. I am center of the grid. Just might as well listen.
Honestly, you should see like every single advertisement on every platform I go on right now is for dog related products, because what I'm focused on right now. It's what I'm talking about. It's what I'm searching for. Literally everything is dogs.
Yep. Yep.
You know, it's convenient. So
Right. Yeah, exactly.
what do you do?
Well, Livonia, I think we got off track. Did we even answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You
Oh,
did.
sorry.
No, I was just giving that because I thought it would be good information for Allie because
Oh, okay.
I just for some reason thought that, you know, she was trying to track her calls too for her website.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, good. No, I'm glad you brought up. I install it for all my clients because it's a huge win. You know, it's one of my secrets to early wins. It's hard to SEO takes time to ramp up.
Mhm.
So you can put all this work in and eventually it starts working. But in the first couple months, it's slow. So if I install CallRail in the first month, instantly I double my leads because they normally aren't tracking their phone calls. Those are gravy. But now I can take credit for phone calls just by tracking them. So it's like, oh, this guy doubled my business overnight. In reality, they were getting all those phone calls. Now they just know the business is coming from my work. And so it's kind of one of my secrets. I don't feel it's misleading. I hope it's not misleading. I'm really just trying to show them they're getting a lot of phone calls from their website that they weren't even paying attention to. And I want them to know that. And I want them to consider those website leads, especially from search, because I'm working hard. I want them to get these leads. And I want them, it's so funny. Eventually, some clients, they get more phone calls than they get web form submissions, and they had no idea. They thought nobody was contacting them. In reality, a ton of people are contacting them because they just weren't tracking their phone numbers. In fact, it's so important for me. I just pay for it for my clients. I don't ask them to pay for it because it's insurance for me. It shows them I'm doing my job. They're more likely to keep me around longer. For the price, it's an investment in my clients, and so I just cover it for them. But,
Okay.
Gotta go out.
All right. Well, thank you too. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you too.
I hope you all take care, and we look forward to talking to you next week. And I hope the doggy is better trained by next week.
You and me both. Because I have 3 rolls of paper towels in 3 days. So ready for that to be done.
All right. Well, good luck.
All right. Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.